There we go. Part 2. So I want to share with you a few scriptures here. First of all, we're going to look at Colossians. Colossians chapter 3. If then you have been raised with Christ, seek the things that are above, where Christ is. Okay. Seek the things above, where Christ is. In the divine writings, Jesus has revealed to us the things of heaven. He has revealed to us his interior life and our interior life at a whole new level, a level we've never seen before in church writings, in any mystics' teachings. The interior life of Christ and our interior life, the interior life of God and our interior life, and the heart of God for this era that we are in. Okay? So seek the things above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. Set your mind on things that are above, not on the things that are on the earth. Okay? We're not called to be possessed by the things of this world the way we see that people are. We're not called to that. We're called to something far, far superior. You have died. Your life is hidden with Christ in God. Why is your life hidden? Well, if I wasn't a Christian, and I was living a materialistic life in a materialistic world, my focus would be on materialism, the visible things of this world. That would be my focal point. And we can see that we have a Western world simply gripped by the need to have the latest, the newest, the best, or just the newest. Some people even change their wardrobe every year. All their clothes go and they get a whole new set. People change televisions, computers, laptops, cars. People get a brand new car every 12 months. Some people, yeah? The material world is their focal point. Therefore, their life is visible. Your life is hidden because you are focusing, or should be, on your interior life, which is hidden. Your life is hidden with Christ. Just bear with me. There we go. And all the riches of the interior world are hidden to you. You cannot see them. But Christ teaches you what you are like. He teaches you your interiority. And he gives you the clear pathway to gain the full riches of your interior life. So I just read in the Word of God that you have been seated in heavenly places. Okay, that was written around 2,000 years ago. This is what's written in Father Joseph Enotz's PhD thesis on the divine will. And he's talking about the divine will model. With respect to the human and divine modes of praying, Louisa affirms that the gift of living in the divine will elevates the soul. Okay, elevates the soul. Now, you lot ask me questions regularly, so I'm going to ask you a question now. You don't have to answer it, but good luck if you want to try it. How many of you felt Jesus elevate your soul a couple of minutes ago? Oh, we got 1 or 2 nods and 1 or 2 shakes. Okay, well, let me make it clear. My elevation wasn't noticeable. The elevation, for the record, shouldn't be, this is not what Jesus is talking about. Okay, are you ready for this? This isn't it. Okay, that's not it. That's a small elevation of 2 inches, all right? Jesus has elevated your soul to this extent, to continuous participation in God's own eternal mode of operation. Do you get all that? Yeah? No? Okay, good. Okay. Eh? I'm glad I've got you all on mute because I don't know what comments will be coming back right now. The divine will elevates the soul to continuous participation in God's own eternal mode of operation, the eternal mode of prayer and action. So God lives outside of time and space. He is not subject to it. He created time, he created space. He lives outside of it and he governs it. It doesn't govern him. We are governed by time and space. We are limited by space, we're limited by time in the human mode. Okay? But God is outside of time. God lives in an eternal now, a perpetual now, and the entirety of human history is a single point before him. One single point. Okay? Don't try and understand this, because I don't understand it, and I don't think it is possible for us to understand it while we're living in time and space, because it's like outside of our dimension of living. And I think if we were taken to God's dimension of living and we saw God's dimension of living and then we were placed back in the human dimension, I don't think we would be able to explain it, because we wouldn't have any words. Jesus explains it to Louisa as the whole of time, the whole of human history is a single point. That's the explanation of the Son of God. I can't do any better. All right. So if we were elevated out of this experience that we're in now to the eternal mode as an experience rather than a declaration, we probably wouldn't be able to ever explain it when we came back into the human mode. All right. So you have to just take the word as it is. God lives in eternity. Time is different for God. God lives in eternity. Time has no meaning for him per se, because he's in an eternal present. Time has meaning for us because it carries us. We're carried by time. We have no power over it whatsoever. God has power over time and over space. We do not. Right? So when we get into the divine will, God elevates the soul to that eternal mode. We might not feel that elevation. One or two might, but in general, the grace of that eternal mode of being is not felt. It's a bit like when Paul writes, you have been, you have died, your life is hidden with Christ in God. You have been raised up with Christ. Okay? That happened at baptism. Did we feel it? I doubt it. Do we know we are seated in heavenly places? Unless the word of God told us, we probably wouldn't realize it. So these things are aspects of our faith, great mysteries of our faith, that we simply need to say, okay, this is what the word of God teaches, therefore this is where I am. So the eternal mode of being that God has elevated us to enables us to fully participate in God's eternal mode of prayer and action. Okay? We participate in God's mode, because when we do an act in the divine will, then God bilocates into that act. So the act that we do becomes an eternal act. Whether it's breathing, every act we do, by the way, this isn't an act of me walking to the door. This is an act of me holding a book, speaking, breathing, touching, thinking, heartbeats, memory, any form of process in the body. Jesus enables it so that everything we do, provided it's not sinful, is elevated into the eternal mode of being by God bilocating into the soul. Do we feel that bilocation of God in the soul? Highly unlikely. Gerard asking one of his profound questions. I really need to put a ban on these questions. The question is, surely there must be some indication as in deeper spiritual life, even if it can't be felt. Otherwise, how can we know if no visible fruits occur? Good question, Gerard. You kind of shot yourself in the foot a little bit there, because you've answered the question. How can we know we're living this deep spiritual life? Because of the fruit. The soul will be more peaceful. Your interior life will be quieter. You won't be constantly demanding things of God. You'll be more in tune to listening to God rather than demanding of him. Which means you'll be more trusting that God's providence is guiding human history, not the noise we make before his throne. That will produce in us the fruit of peace and joy and love. And our lives will be less demanding and more peace-driven. Peace is one of the key things. People don't often realize this. Paul begins all of his letters with grace and peace be yours. That's his focal point, peace. And the first word of Jesus at the resurrection, peace to his disciples, shalom. He says it twice. And it's the greeting for all Jews, shalom. These are the God's people. This is one of the most important things. Our Lady said we're coming to an era of peace. So the peace that we're coming to has to begin within. So when we have a deeper spiritual life, generally we become more peaceful. That's one of the fruits of it. Yeah, the fruits of the Spirit are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. So we know that peace is one of the fruits. The joy is one of the fruits. But, capital B-U-T, right? In journeying into this experience, we will pass through desolation, temptation, darkness, intense purification, trial, suffering. These are part of the journey towards peace, towards intimacy with God. Therefore, we cannot trust our experience. We cannot trust our feelings. We have to trust the Word. The Word is a lamp to my feet and a guide to my path, yeah? The Word is the lamp to my feet and the light unto my path, not my feelings. Now, I know I've taught this before, and I know I'm repeating things I've said, but we have to have repeated teachings in order for us to grow and to know that the experience we're having is guiding us into the deeper mystery of God. So you might have your sufferings, your trials, your darkness. You might feel confused, lost, bewildered, in the mist. You might feel purged. You might not feel at peace. You might not feel in love. You might not feel joyful. You might feel hate. You might feel an incredible rage and anger. You might feel you're wrapped up in interior conflict. These are human emotions. So long as you don't act on hate, it's an emotion. There's no sin. It's something that comes up. And you might say, oh, but I don't do anger or hate. We all do anger and hate. They're human emotions. In the scriptures, God says, I hate sin. So, they're human emotions. And so long as we don't act on them, then they're just part of who we are. And they will come up. They will surface. What do we do when we're gripped passionately with anger? Let me just tell you. I'm just going to do my